Hi, my name's Jamie Green. My hobbies and interests include football and comedy. I like lots of different genres of films, particular like media and stuff. I studied radio at college. I have an interest in that.
Jamie is an enthusiastic young man who, like many 19-year-olds, enjoys a variety of interests and activities. Unlike most young men, however, Jamie lives with a physical disability.
Well, my physical disability is called Cerebral Palsy. I was born with it. I've had it for 19 years now. And it affects mainly the left-hand side of my body, which means that I have limited to no use of my left arm, and I also can't use either of my legs to walk or stand up in any way. So I permanently need use of an electric wheelchair for mobility.
Cerebral palsy, or CP, describes a group of permanent neurological disorders, primarily affecting the communication between the brain and the body. This disorder is usually caused by damage to the brain's development during pregnancy or around the time of birth. Jamie has the most common form of CP, spastic cerebral palsy. Although Jamie's CP is more severe in its physical effects, it does not affect his cognitive ability or sensory inputs as it does in other patients with cerebral palsy.
What is completely normal? Well, my communication skills are completely normal, if not above average. So I have the ability to communicate like anyone else would. I use the internet a lot to communicate, but I also have the ability to talk. Unlike many people with the same disability as me, as cerebral palsy comes in many different forms, and it mainly usually affects your voice. So in a way, I'm very lucky to have the communication skills that I have.
I was told ages and ages ago, when he had a bleed into his brain, and I was told that he would have some sort of disability, but it wouldn't be mental, it would only be physical. But I've since then been told that they couldn't have said that at that stage.
But they did.
They couldn't tell, but they were right. They were perfectly right.
Jamie was born 12 weeks premature. This is significantly early, and many babies will not survive being born so early. However, Jamie did not have any major issues until a little later after birth.
And we just thought, he was just a prem baby, he'd be fine. But when he got to 9 weeks, they decided that his legs started to swell up and his circulation wasn't good. And when they took him to Great Ormond Street, he had a coarctation of the aorta, and they operated on it literally straight away. And we always joked, I was up there on my own. I went in the ambulance with Jamie, and Leslie joined us. And we were told he'd have to have his operation within a couple of hours. So Leslie came up, but I never once thought forward even, thought about how bad he'd be or anything, did we really?
No.
Growing up with a physical disability meant that Jamie's mum, Janet, with the support of her mum, Gwen, had to learn to manage Jamie quite a bit differently to many other mums.
Well, you couldn't sit him down, you see, you couldn't just sit him in a chair. If you sat him in a chair, he'd just lay down.
Like yeah.
And if you had to have special...
If you laid him on, he was happy laying flat on the floor.
Yeah, and you had to have special equipment for him to sit in. Like a ring.
To hold him still,
nothing you could buy in the shop, it had to be specialist equipment. And
you couldn't just lay him down in his cot because he couldn't move. He would just get bored, wouldn't he? And he'd just cry and cry. So
we used to sing nursery. I used to sing nursery rhymes to him all day long.
And take him out in the car and make him go to sleep.
Yeah, every time he was really bad, I'd say to him, well, I'll take him off. And we used to go off in the car and drive around the villages. He'd go to sleep then. It was quite hard, really, but we didn't think about it.
We weren't very busy in the kennels then, were we? So
no,
it wasn't
not
too
as
bad.
busy as this, no.
It wasn't until I had Matthew that I realised how easy normal babies are.
So Jamie, can you tell us a bit about growing up with your disability?
Well, as I was growing up, I was very confused because I come from a family that's very inclusive of people with disabilities. So as I grew up and went to school and went went to primary and secondary school, I came across some people that weren't so accepting of people with differences and disabilities, and as I got older, I obviously learned that not everyone has the same viewpoint. But when I was particularly a lot younger, I couldn't grasp the fact that I was being treated differently simply because of my physical disability. So yeah. As I got older, I mean, as I moved from secondary school into like further education, I found that because people were that bit older and that bit mature, it didn't really matter the fact that I had a disability. It was more the physical challenges that I faced when I was at college. Because I went to mainstream school when I was younger, I was able to be included in the community because I went to the local school, and so I had a lot of friends from both schools, my primary school and my secondary school, which I've managed to hold on to up until now.
Jamie has enjoyed great health for most of his life, avoiding many issues that other young people with physical disabilities have had to cope with. However, a few years ago, Jamie was found to have significant problems with his spine that required urgent and unique surgical intervention.
We went to America, we went to Disney, and he was fine all the time we were in Disney, no problems at all. And then when we came back, he started to lean, didn't he, all the time? And I can't remember what the gradient is. He looked, when he sat like this, his spine was, instead of going straight down, it had sort of curved in, so he had it looked like he was pregnant. He had a big fat tummy, and everything, all his organs were being squashed. But because he was then they decided they'd have to operate. There wasn't really any option. Eventually, all his lungs and things, everything would have been squashed. Yeah, that took laying down on his stomach, and they opened his back right the way up, and then put a rod in either side of his spine and pinned and wired it all down so that his spine straightened up. They've got it as straight as they can. We took our van up to pick him up from hospital, and we couldn't get him in the van because he'd grown by 4.5 inches. And he didn't fit in. We literally put the ramp out, put him on and went to get him in, and it was here on his head, and we couldn't, we had to get a cab home and drive.
Because he can't bend his back.
He couldn't bend it at all, he couldn't lean, and at that point he couldn't lean forward. I mean, he's learnt to move around a bit more with it. At that point he was just bolt upright, and we just couldn't get it, so we had to buy a new car. It was the most expensive thing.
Jamie's most recent development has been a grant of money from the government, which has enabled him to gain a significant level of independence because of his ability to fund a full-time personal assistant.
And since sort of last year, I think it was July last year, I was awarded a fund from the government called Direct Payments, which pays for an assistant to help me get out and about and get involved in the community and do things that I like normal sort of able-bodied teenagers would do. So that's helped me a lot. And because before that, it was the majority of my care was done by my mother, which was very limiting because my mother's also got a full-time job, so she was unable to assist me at all times. It's helped a lot for me to get back a kind of normal relationship with my parents as such, and not be kind of carer and patient, and be more like father and son and mother and son, which is, I've noticed a big difference, particularly within the last 6 months.
Found it hard to sort of give it up a bit, really, and Jamie's been a bit harsh at times. I find he moans at me a lot, but then he's got to moan at someone, so I don't really mind too much. No, it's been lovely, it's been nice, a lot of freedom. I felt like every time he wanted to do anything, I had to make sure the other children were alright, make sure the kennels were alright. I couldn't just drop everything and go out with him. Whereas now he can do what he likes, it's much better for him, he can do all his freedom, he can just go anywhere, and I'm finding I've never got a car. I go out to get in the car and I forget it's not there.
My main role would be as like senior PA and care coordinators to coordinate staff to work with Jamie on the hours that I can't do, and to make sure he can have support by going to bed, getting up in the mornings, going out evenings and things like that really. My partner used to work with Jamie at the local college.